Come along with us and see how we put the trusses on the top of our garage apartment. Welcome to Untamed Hearth, where adventure is a way of life and home is the cozy place we snuggle up in between. Since these trusses were going up a lot higher than the trusses we put on the barn, we used a telehandler to put them up, and you can see that we had to add some 2x10s to the top of the telehandler forks in order to make it long enough to reach, to give us the reach we needed to get over the top of the roof. We tried to get a telehandler that was bigger, but they were all rented already, so this is what we could get. Anyway, we made it work. And here it goes. Up and over. It was quite an experience. Sorry for the shaky video. One of the kids was taking the recording for us. The gable end trusses were the trickiest because they had really long arms. The trusses in the middle were easier because they sit on top of the dormer, so they didn't have the really long extensions like the gable trusses did. Those were really tricky to get up and over, especially when we got to the other end, because those were the last trusses we put in. There were 3 trusses on each end and 17 trusses in the middle. These were trusses that we had pre-built by mainly trusses, and for the most part, we were pretty pleased with them. We did have some of them that ended up somehow with mold on them, and a lot of them were fine. Only the gable ends had mold on them. The 17 trusses in the middle were totally good. Because the trusses had mold on them, we treated them with Benefect Decon 30, which is a treatment that kills mold. And so what we did is we sprayed them and scrubbed them once, and then after we had scrubbed it, then we sprayed them again. It basically took, I think I could do 1.5 trusses with 1 gallon bottle of Decon 30. And we did not bleach them afterwards because we don't care if they have the color on them. We just want to know the mold is dead. Bleaching doesn't actually kill the mold. I know this is very controversial in building circles, but it doesn't. We've done a lot of research about mold since our last house was moldy and we had to have it remediated. So, yeah, don't just bleach something if you see mold there. Benefect is a natural way of killing the mold and getting rid of it without causing more harm. You can purchase Benefect from Amazon, and in our case, we could also get it from our local Home Depot. They did have to order it, so we couldn't get it right away. But keep that in mind, you can get it from Home Depot. As you can see, the trusses that went over the dormer were much easier to put up. They didn't have the long legs like the trusses that went on the gable ends. I guess there were 4 trusses on each gable end. It's just that 2 of them were actually attached to the gable end wall. So we didn't have to put those up with this because we put them up already when we built the gable end walls. You can see River using hand signals here to tell our friend whether he wanted him to boom in or boom out or tip the forks or all sorts of things that you can tell somebody with hand signals when they're using big machines. It's kind of tricky sometimes to not have constant communication, and at some points We did actually call each other on our phones so that it was almost like a walkie-talkie and we could be really clear. This was especially helpful if we were in a tricky location near the gable end walls where things were kind of tight. Once the truss was brought up to the top of the dormers, I used a rope to guide it along, trying not to hit any of the other trusses that had already been put up, and guide it to the other side where I could rest it on top of the wall. We made sure that both sides of the truss were resting on top of the wall, and then River would tack it down on his side. As soon as his side was tacked down, I could screw my side in. Let me just tell you, River is much faster at this than I am. I was having a rough day that day, but he would put on 1, 2, 3, 4. He would screw up 4 braces or 5 braces, and before I got my end and 1 brace screwed together. He's very quick, and I am still learning. It's tricky some days. We didn't have a lot of video from this day, but I hope you enjoyed seeing the progress as we put our trusses up. And join us again next time to see where we are on our garage apartment build.